Hi, everybody. My name is Anthony. I'm the owner of Nomad Language Academy and also a polyglot. I've taught myself 6 languages thus far, and I'm going for number 7, Japanese, this year. Follow my YouTube in order to follow along with that journey and see how I go with that. Today, I want to talk about the methodology that I use both for my personal learning and then also how that applies to the Spanish course I offer here with Nomad Language Academy. So when I start learning a new language, and if you go follow my YouTube, you'll see that I did this. The first thing I want to do is learn how to handle basic situations. I want to be able to order food. I want to be able to go to the market and buy things. I want to be able to go do some shopping, start to deal with a few numbers, be able to check out, be able to get some basic directions, right? And be able to just, more than anything, understand those words. I don't necessarily at this point want to or need to know how to say or give directions, right? I'm just learning a handful of simple set phrases in order to be able to survive within the environment that I'm living in, right? Or living in, theoretically. That's what I call survival skills. After that, I get into the idea of the tourist kind of traveler conversation, where I want to be able to talk about what am I going to do here later on? What do I like to do? Whether that's to talk about hobbies or things I like to do on certain days. This is also where I'm starting to learn family members. I'm going to learn jobs. I'm going to learn the days of the week and the months of the year to be able to talk about my future plans, what I like about a place, and just have that basic traveler conversation, be able to introduce myself, be able to talk about my trip so far, what I'm going to do coming up. After I've gotten down and feel comfortable with the idea of I'm going to being able to use it with the days and the months of the year, right? To be able to express my future plans, what I'm going to do this week, what I'm going to do this month, what I'm going to do this year, right? That is where I'm going to start to get into the idea of what are called modal verbs, right? Which this allows us to get outside of just like the basic, very simple, direct, true, factual statements and let us get into a little bit of not so sure things, right? So that is going to be like things that I want to do or things that I have to do, things that I should do, things that I need to do, but I can always give the justification of for XYZ reason, I'm not going to do it, right? Or I can't do it, right? And then after that, I want to get into the past. I want to learn how to use the past tense, how to say what I did last week, what I did yesterday, what I did on a prior vacation, and work my way into starting to tell stories, right? And in every language, this is slightly different how you tell stories. And do you need multiple tenses? Is it all the same? Structure, the Arabic is a little bit more simple than Spanish or French was, right? To learn it and to be able to start to tell stories and be able to tell good stories, right? And once you get to this point, you have the basics down and you're getting towards that B1 basic intermediate level. What you really need to do is just to read and consume content, right? Whether that is, I'm a big fan of reading books just because I like to read, reading newspaper articles, reading the subtitles as you watch your favorite show in English, right? Maybe that's listening to music and starting to pay attention to the lyrics. Maybe that's watching a TV show in Spanish, right? Or whatever language you're studying. Reading books, watching TV, and just starting to consume the language, right? And so in the case of the Spanish course I offer, right, the new online self-study program, think of it like a language learning gym, right? Where you're able to watch the videos and study theory outside on your own. This is like studying the yoga poses or the CrossFit exercises or the martial arts moves that you need to do for whatever. And then you get to come to the gym and practice them, right? And you get to practice those skills that you've learned that week in the videos. You get to ask questions and things like that. So the first month, we're going to deal with the situations. We're going to deal with how do we order food at a restaurant and at a cafe? How do we get through a market or supermarket scenario and buy food? And how do we start to give instructions and prepare dinner and talk about preparing dinner? How we get through directions, receiving directions from other people, and what are the key words we're looking for, right? Both in the sense of around a city. So we're going to learn some places around the city and also within a mall setting. So we're going to learn places to do with the mall. And then how do we deal with actually going shopping, whether that is asking for things and then also dealing with numbers and checking out, right? Month 2, we're going to start to get into describing ourselves, right? So this is where we're going to learn to talk about our family, learn to talk about our jobs, learn to talk about our likes and dislikes and the things we like to do in our free time, right? This is nice because this starts to open up the conversation a little bit more, right? We'll also get into the idea of questions. Right? So to be able to ask, What do you like to do in your free time? What do you like to do on Fridays? What do you like to do in July, right? We'll spend this time practicing with likes and dislikes in regards to us and our family and being able to ask questions, right? And be able to talk about our jobs a little bit, right? Then in month 3, we're going to get into those modal verbs, right? Which is where we get outside of just strict reality, right? And we start to be able to talk about the things that we want or need or have to do in the future, right? This is also where we'll start to jump into the days of the week and the months of the year with the idea that by the end of month 3, I can plan out the rest of my year, right? I can plan out the week, I can plan out the month, I can plan out the year, I can talk about what I'd like to do in these months, on what I like to do on these certain days, right? And also get into a little bit outside of fixed fact, right? Where I'm able to talk about, well, I should do this, but for XYZ reason, I'm not going to do it, or I can't do it, or I don't have the money to do it. So starting to get away from just simple factual statements. Then in month 4 and month 5, we are going to get into the first and most important of the past tenses in Spanish, which is called the preterite. So we're going to start out by looking at the theory and just looking at sentences. Then we're going to progress to writing journals and reading journals about days in the life, what we did that day, right? Who we visited, where we went, right? And then we're going to start to get into the idea of biographies, both reading people's biographies and also being able to write biographies and talk about the life events, the major life events, both in our lives and in people we know or famous people's lives, right? Then after that, in months 6 and 7, we are going to get into something called reflexive verbs, which we can get to that actually in the course, but these are verbs that go with the idea of talking about your daily routine, talking about a lot of physical motion, standing up or sitting down or laying down, and also changes in emotion, getting angry, getting upset, getting happy, right? And then just changes of state in general, getting married, getting divorced, getting drunk, getting sober, things like that. So that is how I have taken the method I've used to learn now 6 languages and going on 7. And that is how I've applied it specifically to Spanish, right? After that, we would get into that intermediate level where the whole idea is to consume content within the language. They're reading, they're writing, they're watching TV, they're listening to music, which leads into the intermediate side of the program, which would be a writing class, learning how to write and tell stories, reading articles and looking at the grammar that is involved in order to be able to understand that. And then talking about commands, accidental, the simple future tense, things that will crop up in more speaking situations and how we can use that and put that into our language. And then we get into the advanced side of things, which is talking about things like hypothetical situations, giving your opinions on things, talking about how things make you feel, right? And just going deeper in the language and being able to express more and more and more, right? If you guys are interested in signing up for the class, be sure to send me a WhatsApp message using the number down below or send me an email and I will send you all that information. Thank you guys so much for watching and I look forward to seeing you soon in class.